Good evening. It's the evening of Sunday, the 16th of June 2024. You're welcome back. There was an RTE, that's the Irish National Broadcaster Television, expose during the week about horses being mistreated, horses in the slaughter system being beaten, and all sorts of things. Now, I'm not going to go into it in great detail. There was a horse meat scandal before where there were horse meat being put into the burgers, and it was detected in somewhere, I think it was the supermarkets could detect the different type of meat, and I thought that was all put to bed. Now that's not what's happening here. The allegation here is that it's the proper procedure is not being followed. They're not being properly chipped. They're being chipped on the double and all of this. Now, for those who do not understand it, unlike cattle that have a tag in each ear, there's just a tag in each ear, and nowadays that tag can be followed and it can be read by a special device like that. The horses for a long time have a different system. They have a chip. It's probably because sport horses don't want to be seen in the arena with tags on their ears. And it wouldn't be very practical anyway. But the chip goes into the horse's neck or body, and with this device you can get around and it'll read the chip and it'll get the registration number. And when every foal is a certain age, they have to be chipped. They have to have the microchip put in them. And then that a passport is issued on foot of that, and that passport stays with the horse. And if you're selling the horse, you have to produce that passport and hand it over to the next person. That's all very fine. Must have been taken out the old chips and putting in the new ones. The reality is horses, when they do their thing, whatever they're meant to do, show jumping or whatever, they go on to retirement, and it's not always a very happy retirement. They're all very often sent for slaughter, and all over the world, race horses, some of the finest horses, are eventually, once they're not able to perform, they're slaughtered, and that's the bottom line. The idea that they go out to grass might happen occasionally, and there are donkey sanctuaries and all that, but that's what happens. But what the state tries to ensure is that it's done humanely, in accordance with proper procedure. I mean, with cattle, it's strict, very, very strict. You wouldn't get away without a card or anything like that. You have to have them tested every year. I don't think the horse has to be tested, so once he gets his passport, that's it. No one knows where he is after that. But my experience of it is this, and the state is to blame a bit. If you have, well, let's say a colt, and you get him gelded or not, or say he's a stallion, and you have a colt, you get him chipped, that's done. You get the registration book, and that's done. And so you keep your registration book, and you can have that, and if anyone wants to come and check him, they can read him. And indeed, many horsey people, horse owners, have a device that will read all horses. So if you buy a horse at a fair or something, you can chip him and just check that the passport is right. Read him with the device, the electronic device. But the thing I discovered the hard way when I was an executor of a will where there was a horse and the passport had been lost, and this horse was relatively healthy, getting on in years, was an entire stallion, could nothing be done with him, and very difficult to catch. But it was possible to do it if you planned it right. But when I went to see could he go for horse meat in a horse abattoir, they said you have to have the passport. And when I went to sell him, they said you have to have a passport. So I could not find the passbook. The passbook was lost. The previous owner, God only knows where he had it. And I thought there was nothing to do, only go and get a replacement book. Don't forget the original chip was in the horse. No doubt about that, I got him read. So when I went to look for a replacement passbook, they would not give it. They said no. So I got on to the abattoir to see what it would take him, and they said no, he cannot come in here for slaughter unless he has the book. Now, I failed to see the meaning of that, and the invite replies. What was wrong with giving me a book for a horse to bring him to an abattoir and have him humanely slaughtered for dog food or whatever? But it's the rule that you can't, and that rule is the one I would question. I had him for a while anyway, and the next thing I was approached by an unofficial slaughterer, a knacker fella. And he wouldn't, in my opinion, be the best for animal welfare or think much about the welfare of the horse. And I didn't like to give it to him. And he was giving me money to take the horse, no questions asked, bring him away, and I knew well he'd be slaughtered within 2 hours. And I didn't do it. And I tried everything to get the horse properly disposed of. And eventually the horse took the staggers or some ailment and he died. He died very, very suddenly. He was old. And that's what I had to look at, because the Irish government refused to give me a passport. Now, maybe they're saying that if we gave you a passport, you might have changed the chip. So where does the chip come from? What kind of control is on the chip? I presume you'd have to take out the old one and put in a new one. And that might be some reason for doing that. I'm not quite sure. That's why I invite replies. But the point I'm saying is, if you have a cow and you lose the card, the cow has a tag, the cow is tested every year, and you go to your district veterinary office and you fill in a form, you sign it, and in about 3 days you get a new card issued. I don't know what it's like for sheep, it doesn't really matter. You understand? There is no hassle if you lose cards. And that can happen. And on some farms, cards are handed to the vets on the testing, and the vets have maybe a big packet and they get lost, and there's all problems like that. Or there can be fires or many other things, but they occasionally do get lost. You know, you might be reading one and there might be difficulty and you put the card up somewhere, or you might be going to bring them to the mart and then you change your mind or something like that. You can easily mislay the card. Although the few times it happened to me, I never found the old card. I never got a replacement card for a beast, an animal, a cow or a bullock or a bull or anything else, and then found the original card after. But there's issues with fires and all of that. But with the horse, you have your horse properly tagged. You have a proper passport, a paper document, filled out and all. That gets destroyed in the fire, it gets lost, stolen or whatever. That horse is stuck on your farm forever, and there is no legitimate way to deal with the horse. You either let him die of old age, which is cruelty. You shoot him yourself, which is not very easy done, and he'd have to be buried or disposed of. Perhaps maybe that's one way. In the case I had, I didn't like to do it. The owner of the horse liked the horse a lot. I didn't like to kill the horse. I didn't think it'd be lucky. But in any event, the other one is you give him to an unregistered knacker. A knacker meaning a person who slaughters horses and donkeys. And that's the option the Irish government, under the Minister Charles McConnell, has in place. And there is nothing they will do about it. They say no. On no circumstances are you going to get a replacement passport. And then they wonder why you have this mess. And of course, Radio Television Ireland, who did a good job in exposing it, did nothing to explain that and never will. You wouldn't expect them to give you real news. Comment underneath. Let me know what you think. We'll see you back for something soon. Thank you.